All right, hopefully this is running. I'm going to be doing a tier list of all of the splits that you'll mainly see people running. Obviously, there's some variations to them. People run their own like custom splits, or I'm sure there's other ones, right? But these are kind of the main ones that I see, and so I wanted to go through and do a tier list on them. First off, for the I guess credibility that I have, if you want to say, I have an exercise science degree. I have an ACE training certification. I've been training people for in person for over 3.5 years, and I taught a course in college over becoming a personal trainer, talking about anatomy, physiology, all that jazz. And then I have been training people online for over 2 years now. So, as a fitness coach, as a person who has a degree in this, understands the science, and has run these splits before anecdotally, I wanted to go through and give my thoughts on all of them. So, yeah. First off, we're going to start with Bro Split. It's D tier. Yeah, it's not great. So if you're thinking about frequency as the main thing that's going to help with moving and developing muscle because of the fact that we're moving forward with developing muscle, it's going to be very large. Like frequency is very important. We want to be hitting the muscle group ideally 2 to 3 times per week if we can. And so you're going to notice with the splits at the end of this video that those are going to be more beneficial. One of the main reasons is going to be because of frequency. So with bro split, the way that works is you're hitting every single muscle group one time per week essentially because you're doing a dedicated muscle group workout. So one day I might hit chest, then the next day I hit back, then the next day I hit, you know, uh, they usually just clump legs together because they don't want to do legs that often. But then legs, then a bicep day, then a tricep day, then a shoulder day. For one, it gets a little redundant because let's say, for biceps, I do like bicep curls, and then I do preacher curls, and then I do hammer, and then I do cable bicep curl, and then I do reverse grip. Like there's only so much you can do for biceps without, kind of just exhausting your options in terms of what the muscle action actually does, which is flexion and supination. And so past that, you're not really getting much in terms of extra novel stimulus. You're essentially just doing the same thing, but instead of doing like 4 sets of something, let's say you do 2 sets of one thing and then 2 sets of another, it's just in a different font essentially, right? So bro split for that reason, low frequency and also just kind of like redundancy, it's going to be in D tier. Now let's go with power building. I think power building is a little bit better. Reason being, a lot of people running power building are going to run like a 3 day split where it's squat, bench, deadlift. So it's going to be like squat, rest, bench, rest, deadlift, rest. And then you're going to have different movements after those. So let's say we do like the squat and then we do accessory movements in order to help with our squats. That would be, like a couple quad, a couple hamstring, a couple calf, a couple adductor, whatever else, right? Same thing for the bench day, same thing for the deadlift day. Frequency is going to be higher because you're hitting the muscle groups a little bit more often compared to something like bro split, whereas you might hit legs, like once a month for that. But at the same time, like you might be hitting like triceps like once a week. Whereas with, then like the next week you hit shoulders and whatever else is, it's kind of like a 7+ day split. Whereas with power building, you're at least hitting everything once a week guaranteed if you're doing it, like on, off, on, off, on, off throughout the week. And so for that, I would rank it a little bit higher. Now, obviously, with power building, you're going to be doing a split that is primarily focused on strength and a little bit on hypertrophy. So that is kind of a knock against it. That's why we're going to kind of see it in C tier. But hitting the muscles more frequently is going to be helpful, and not just hitting one muscle group every single day. That's going to be helpful. Arnold split. So I would probably put this like slightly above bro split, like C tier, kind of with power building. Because it's a hypertrophy based split, I'm going to put it just above power building in C tier, but it's still C tier. The split's going to be like chest and back, and then you're going to have like an arm day, then a leg day. Um, then there's like an ab day in there. It's like a 5 day split essentially. So a little bit better in terms of frequency compared to something like bro split. A little bit better in terms of hypertrophy focus compared to power building, but it's not going to be, up there with the other ones that we're going to cover later in this video. And because of that, it's got to be C tier. I have nothing, in terms of like if you want to run Arnold split and you super enjoy it, run it. Like there's no me saying you shouldn't run it. This is again just subjective, but also some objective reasoning as to why you should maybe choose one over the other. But again, if you run Arnold and you love it, tell me in the comments why you love it and tell me, like, hey, you're dumb. I love it. Whatever else, right? This is just like, my tier list here. So give me your tier list in the comments if you think, it should be like S tier or whatever. Um, push pull legs up or lower. Honestly, I'm debating between these two. Um, I think I'm gonna put it A for now. Reason being, you're going to be hitting all of the muscle groups twice a week, with 5 days in the gym. So it's going to be like push, pull, leg, rest, upper, lower, rest. So that would be 7 days. You're going to be hitting it twice a week. Or you could do push, pull, legs, upper, lower, rest, push, pull, legs, upper, lower, rest, which is going to increase your frequency a little bit because there's one less rest day in there. So it's a 6 day split instead of a seven. Um, and so I do think that there is a lot of benefit over this compared to the ones before. Why is my reasoning for that? Push pull legs up or lower is for one, you're hitting synergistic muscle groups together. So if I'm pushing, I'm doing like a chest press, let's say, I'm going to be hitting my triceps, chest, and shoulder. Those are synergistic muscles because they're working together to do the same movement. So I can get a lot of volume for my triceps and shoulders without actually directly hitting them by doing something like a compound movement, like for the chest. And then when I do my triceps and shoulders, for one, they're already kind of warmed up, which is great. But then for two, I don't have to do as much volume for them because they're already getting volume through those other movements. I also think that push pull legs up or lower maybe ranks a little bit above push pull legs because again, 5 day over 6 day split. Your frequency is higher than these. Again, frequency is really important. And one caveat with all of this is, let's say we're doing proper training design for all of these. Okay, so obviously, like a person doing full body every other day or upper lower push pull legs, wherever these rank, if they're, like let's say they're higher than bro split, but bro split is designed better, obviously these are going to be bad. Like if you're deadlifting every single day on these, like obviously that's not great for hypertrophy. Your fatigue buildup is going to be super high. So let's say that the same person is designing all of these and the training design is really good. Okay, that's the caveat with all this. Okay, now push pull legs. So I think that push pull legs is going to be slightly lower than push pull legs upper lower because you're doing a 6 day split comparative to a 5 day split. So obviously over like the span of 1 week, that doesn't really matter much. But if we're going over a course of a year, course of a couple years, which I mean, we need to kind of keep that into account when we're talking about this stuff because fitness, hopefully for a lot of people, is for life. This isn't something where it's like a trend where we run that for a year, we get big, and then we stop. This is ideally we're training for life. So that little bit of dip in total amount of frequency per week is going to add up over 365 days. So for that reasoning, I would put push pull legs upper lower slightly over push pull legs. Um, it's marginal, not much. Like this is maybe like a in between rank right here, right? There's not big of a difference, but that's where I would put that for now. Now to the last two. If you are on TikTok right now, these are the big boys, right? These are the big ones that everybody's talking about. Maybe controversial in my picks here. Put that above that. Oh, there it is. It goes in S tier. Okay, so let me explain why I have upper lower over full body every other day before anybody comes for me in the comments saying that I got it wrong. Like this video is bad, dislike, rage comment, whatever, right? Okay. Um, full body every other day is going to be hitting the muscles more per week. Okay. Your frequency is going to be higher. And I've just talked about frequency, 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 right? Like, why is Guy going against frequency now? I'm not going against frequency. Recent studies have found that the difference between 2 and 3, times per week frequency is pretty marginal in terms of the amount of growth. Now, again, let's do a comparison here. Bro split, once a week, maybe, legs probably once every 2 months. Okay. So frequency is real low. But the difference between these two is going to be marginal. So if we're comparing these two versus Bro Split, yeah, this is in D tier for a reason. That's why it's down there by itself. These two, what separates the difference between A and S tier for me then? Couple things with nuance here, okay? Full body every other day. Most people running this are training, obviously, every single muscle every single day. And so you have to worry about recovery because every other day of training means that you got to be ready in 2 days to train every single muscle, which means you're rightly so doing about one set per muscle group per day. That's a lot of warm up time for every single thing. Now, sure, again, let's do the bench example that I gave. You do a bench press movement, shoulders, triceps, they're getting a little warm from that. But my elbow is not moving in the same way. My shoulder is not moving in the same way as something like an overhead tricep extension like this when I'm doing this comparative to a bench press. What that means is my shoulder, my elbow, might be a little clicky, a little rusty, so to speak, right? It's not ready to go right after. So I have to warm up for that. And then I go to legs. Well, now I got to warm up a whole bunch, right? Because I just went from upper body to lower body. Now I got to warm up for my leg stuff. That's one of the main reasons is it's going to take a while because you have to warm up for everything. Now, obviously, the trade-off is you're only doing one set of everything, so you can train with intensity and intention, and that's less overall sets on the day then maybe. So that then comes down to saving a little bit of time. But I don't think that in regards to like the warm-ups is going to trade off that much time-wise. I think it's going to take about the same amount of time in the gym as something like upper lower. Another knock against full body every other day is the mental component. You're hitting legs every other day. And for a lot of people, they don't want to be hitting legs every other day because they don't like training legs alone, right? But they don't want to have chicken legs, so they have to train them. But when you have to train them every other day, man, that's a lot. Okay. I like training legs. I've always talked about how I like training legs, but I'm not everybody. Okay. So when we're adding it into a total split and we're thinking about the average person, having legs as an every other day thing, one, it's going to build up a lot of fatigue. I know people love talking about fatigue. Yeah, fatigue does matter, right? Fatigue is important. We have to manage it. And so if we're hitting legs every other day and we're training with one set, we got to push hard because we only get one set to get it right. That's going to be a lot of fatigue buildup. Whereas something like upper lower, we're going to get into this one about why it's S tier. Instead of one set, we're going to be doing two sets, okay? So overall frequency of hitting the muscle group, total sets equated throughout the week, it's going to be roughly the same if you're hitting every single muscle group, two sets or one set per day for upper lower, right? So I might do the way that I do it is I have an upper A, upper B, and then I have a lower A, lower B. One day I'm focusing on back first, then chest first on those two separate days. And then the lower days I have quad focus, hamstring focus, right? So total volume equated for full body every other day, it's roughly the same. Again, frequency is a little bit lower. I'm hitting it the muscles one less time per week roughly because I am doing upper lower rest, or upper lower rest, however you want to run it. Frequency might be a little bit lower, but total volume is probably going to be equated to roughly about the same. However, um, if we're doing a rest day in between, that lower day, it's getting spaced out a little bit less often throughout the week, right? I'm not having to hit legs every other day, like with this one. For people, the mental component of that, it matters. And then with the upper stuff, I don't have to warm up my upper and then warm up my lower in the same day. I don't have to do as much warm up sets because I might be doing less total exercises on the day. And on top of that, things are going to be able to get warmed up easier because, again, I'm not going from upper to lower. So I don't have to do as many warm up sets. On top of that, I'm doing two sets instead of one set. So for a person who is new to the gym, two sets allows you a little bit more room for error. If you're doing one set, you have to make that set count. You should probably be pushing close to failure, if not to failure, every single set that you do that's intentional. That's tough for people mentally if they're new to the gym. And even if they're not new to the gym, that's still tough. Upper lower, I'm doing two sets per movement. Not that I should, like slack off on one of those two, but since I'm doing two, that's double the amount of volume for that exercise. I can be a little bit more lenient about not having to push to failure. I can maybe be 1 or 2 reps away or 3 reps away or whatever, right? So there's a little bit more leniency with that. So add all of these things up together, okay? The frequency is relatively the same. I'm not having to hit legs as often. I'm not having to warm up as much. I might take a little bit less time in the gym. All of these things add up into the fact that programming wise, it's a little bit harder to program for full body every other day. And all the other things that I named, that's what puts upper lower for me personally over full body every other day. Now I run upper lower right now. I've run push pull legs upper lower. I've run push pull legs. I've run, some variation of bro split before. I've run a lot of these. And so this is again anecdotal, but it's also objective in a lot of science behind frequency and science behind training to failure. This might be a little bit harder for the newbie to do or the experienced lifter compared to upper lower. And so that's my opinion on why it's not S tier. Now, it's almost there. I honestly, it could be S tier, but below upper lower. This could be how I put it. It could either be like this or like this. If you want to say in the comments like it should be S tier, just slightly below upper lower, sure, I can 100% give you that. Maybe it would be built this way, okay? But I would have to put upper lower over full body every other day for me because of the reasons that I've listed. This does not take away from any of these listed, okay? It looks like an F, that's funny. But this does not take away from any of these splits. If you want to run bro split, bro, do it. I don't care, right? Run it. I'm not stopping you. This is just me talking about what I think and what the literature speaks to when it comes to what is likely going to be the best for muscle growth. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, let me know. If you want me to do a different tier list, tell me. I can build these super easy. I mean, they're not hard to make, but if you like this style of video, hey, I loved it. It was fun. So let me know if you enjoyed it. Comment that so I can know. Leave a like on the video, share it with your friends, show it to your grandma, whatever. Yeah. If you want coaching, message me. I'll build you one of these plans, either custom or I have pre-made ones for literally all of these. So comment or go to my website, sign up for coaching. I do free consultation calls before we do any purchases. So yeah, let me know if that sounds good to you. Peace out.